Hello, everybody. Welcome to this chat with Anna Unwin, kind of rising star. Is that good to call you a rising star?
Love that. Yeah, definitely. I'll take that. Better than like sinking star.
Yeah, like, then let's go back to the beginning for you. Where did your love of theatre begin?
Do you know what? I think genuinely, I always say like I think I came out of the womb like singing. I was always like the little performer of the family. Um, and I went to see Lion King. I think that was like the first like big show that I remember seeing. And I was just, like the first one you see in the West End is like it's magic. It's like nothing you've ever experienced before. And I was like, right, that's it.
Yeah.
So I must have been about, I mean, 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah.
And that was it. But I always say that my mum was in charge of the church nativity. And so even when I was like 3, I was fuming that I wasn't Mary. I
Yeah.
think she didn't want to show favoritism, So I was fuming. I was stood at the back as like one of the shepherds with a stupid tea towel on my head. And I just apparently I don't remember it, but I remember being told that I like in the middle of when baby Jesus was being born, I like stomped forward to the front of the stage and I got my teddy bear sheep
Yeah.
and I ripped its leg off and I said, look, mummy, look. And everyone was laughing and I thought that was brilliant. And I think maybe that's when it started. Maybe that's when the love for theatre started.
And I guess kind of, you already kind of answered this, but what age did you know that you were going to be the performer that you are now?
Well, it's funny. I think when I was 14 or 15, I'd been like going to ballet lessons and I joined like a musical theatre school. And I remember Narrow Road, who is the agent I'm actually with now, Amy from Narrow Road came in and I just went to like the little local school. I'm from Mansfield, which is in Nottinghamshire. And it was like, there's going to be a big West End agent is coming in to see you all. And I remember, again, it was like the most exciting thing in the whole wide world ever. And I was too young to audition for the agency. So all the older kids got to audition, but the agent Amy, who I'm still with now, came to see the show that we were doing. And yeah, I can't remember how old I must. Yeah, about 14. Came to see one of the shows we were doing, and she said, "I want to see Anna." And it was like I had like I guess like 5 minutes notice to prepare a song for this agent. And I remember singing. I remember singing not all I ask of you. Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again from Phantom. Yeah. And I, did some very sad acting. And then my musical theatre teacher said, Anna, do you know what I think you should sing? Popular from Wicked, which was my go-to. So I sang Popular. I did it with like everything I had. Yeah. I was running around the studio like cheese, popular, you're gonna be. And Amy from Narrow Road said that she would sign me. So I think I remember being like, oh, I must be quite good. Like, and I think up until then it had just been like quite just like fun. But at that point, and then my first audition ever was for Coronation Street. And I did like 5 rounds, I think, and a screen test in Manchester to become, the character was called Bethany Platt, who Lucy Fallon played for like years, and she did an amazing job. But I remember getting down again to the last 2 for that, and then that was why suddenly I was like, oh, maybe I can do this, maybe. And I think when you have those little mini like confidence boosters, it sort of helps you think, oh yeah, maybe this is something I could do actually full time. So probably from then, I think, yeah.
And obviously, you mentioned kind of Coronation Street there, but obviously, you play Doctors. I know that's just been cancelled.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Doctors.
Oh no, has it? Oh gosh, that's sad.
They cancelled like a couple of days ago. It was on whatever. No. How was that kind of like early, kind of when you were a young performer, then being on screen? Kind of how was that for you?
So my first time ever on screen was for a part in a show called Locked Up Abroad, which I played. It's an amazing show. It's basically they take real stories of people who've been sort of caught in places where they've been locked up abroad, and they will get them interviewed, and then they'll have people reenacting it. So I auditioned, and this is like literally, it's crazy. I think I probably auditioned on the Monday, and I did a couple of rounds, and by the Friday they were like, okay, you've got it, and you're going to fly out on Wednesday. It was like, oh my gosh, you're going to fly out to Colombia. It was filmed in Colombia, so it was like, okay, so you learn new lines and do you speak Spanish, and like it's so quick, such a quick turnaround. And so that was a great start for TV, because it was sort of following me as the lead. Like I played the woman who was locked up abroad. It was a really crazy story. And it was really good because the team sort of really helped me out and showed me and said, look, like taught me a bit of the craft, and like if you find your light and find your mark and do this, because it's like a completely different ball game. And though at drama school we had like TV tech lessons at Arts Ed where I went, but it's when you're on set it's completely different, and so different to theatre. And I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic, so when they're like, pick up this water bottle and then put it on there and then on that line do this, and I was like so it was good I think in learning quite a safe environment, and an amazing show. It was really good, because Doctors was like completely the opposite. It's like okay, great, take one, good, great, next, take two, and it's so quick, and sort of like no help with anything. So it was amazing. That was again a massive learning curve, but I'm glad I had something before that to sort of like learn a little bit about how it works.
Obviously, for me, you first came on my radar in Northampton's pantomime.
Yes, amazing.
So good. How much? I've obviously done 2 pantomimes now. Kind of how much fun is performing in pantomime for you?
I love that you saw that. I loved that panto. That it was such a fun year. In fact, the musical director, Gary Jerry, who did panto, he's actually playing for us here. I Should Be So Lucky, which is amazing. But it was, I mean, that was the most wild experience of my life, because I'd never done a panto before. And again, for pantos, the rehearsal period is like, I think we were quite lucky for that one. We had like 10 days, which seems like nothing, but for panto, apparently that's quite good. But I remember sort of 2 days before we were supposed to go on, I think 9 people out of a cast of about 13 or 14 got COVID. And so we were like hiring people from around the country. And I don't know who you must have seen do it, but there must have been a few understudies on and stuff like that.
I don't know, because I came to like the press night, so you might have had it all together by then.
It was crazy. And like some of the ensemble boys who were like fresh out of college were covering like Phil Gallagher, who's like Mr. Maker. It was wild. It was crazy, and just such a fun. But I have to say, because the nature of panto is so much fun and things are kind of allowed to go wrong, it was like exhilarating. I think pantomime, I've never done anything where it's like stand-up comedy as well as performing a show, and being around people who are so quick and funny, and if things go wrong they can sort of make a joke out of it, is like the most fun ever. I always say the 2 pantomimes I've done, because I did Northampton, and then last year I went back to sort of my home turf and did Newark on Trent pantomime. But I always say they have to hire funny people, especially for like the comic role or the dame. They have to hire funny people. So off stage, I think you have just as much fun as you do on stage. And yeah, just Like the amount of laughs we had that year and the year after were just so good. I love panto. I love it. I love it.
I suppose, as you say, then being part of that sort of cast where you are able to get through the challenges must be more helpful for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really like a comment on this industry, I think, because it is, the show must go on, and we hear that being said, but genuinely, when people, because who else do you blame? It's like the producers are desperate to help you, and you're desperate to help them, and the audience, and the audience want it to go ahead, and it's almost like everybody is rooting for this show to go ahead, and people just went on, and like that must be the most scary thing in the world, to go on like half knowing what you're doing, half not, and just performing. And when the audience is so on side and so rooting for it to go well, I think that is, and the rest of the cast have to like sometimes literally drag you into the right place. It's so special. It's so special. And it is a comment on the industry that actually, like, I have so much respect for performers who can just be like, okay, right, I'll go on. Or like Gary got given the score the day before, I think, or something, and it was like, can you play? Yep, sure. It's just amazing. Yeah,
I'd agree, because I work front of house.
Okay.
It changed kind of like my perspective kind of on the whole kind of industry, I suppose, because you see bits that the audience don't see, and kind of like you say, people thrown on last minute, and you're like, how?
That must be really amazing for you because you have seen both.
The flip side of it. It's like a nice window into the what the people don't actually see is kind of amazing, like the kind of chaos that's actually happening to get it to the point of even like 5 minutes before. Sometimes you can like, how's this show going to go on? But it does. Yeah,
it's crazy. It is crazy.
Then obviously you are an ambassador for Arts International, which we must talk about.
I am. So I work for, I met, Andrew Lee, who runs Arts International, was based in Dubai, and my first job out of Arts Ed was on the QE2, the Queen Elizabeth II, the QE2 ship is now parked in Dubai. So I went out there and did Alice in Wonderland, which is crazy because, again, it's one of those things that sort of fell into place by coincidence that actually has changed my life so much. I did 2 weeks out there, made some amazing friends, had a great time. I think it was a bit of a confidence boost I needed. You can have a bit of a fragile ego, and at drama school, because it is a really hard environment. Sometimes you leave feeling like, am I actually good enough? And when I went to Dubai, I just did 2 weeks of this show. I did Alice in Wonderland. I played Alice. I had a great time. And I met Andrew Lee, who was setting up Arts International at the time. So we went into a few different schools and sang and taught the kids. And it was so special. I love teaching. I love teaching, especially like secondary age kids. Because I think, you look back at the teachers you had who changed your life and the course of, and just like with a bit of encouragement or seeing what they need or trying to explain things in a way that people understand. So I really, really like teaching. And so that's sort of when that started. I had so much fun in Dubai. And then when Arts International sort of grew, I think now they're in Milan and Paris and Lisbon and all over Europe and I think a few other places in the Middle East as well. I was like, yeah, I'll come, I'll go. And so every now and again, I get to go and teach at international schools all around the world, which is really fun. Yeah, I love that. Really good fun.
Amazing. And obviously you're fresh off the West End aspects of Love.
I am.
How was that making your West End debut?
Honestly, it was so amazing. I think, when you have like dreamt about something so much, you almost think, and I remember the day before rehearsals, I lay on my bed and I was like, Anna, don't get your hopes up too much. The grass is always greener. It's never going to be as good as you imagined. But I have to say, it absolutely was. It was the most amazing experience. And I was so close to giving up, actually. I think it's so much of a lovely industry to work in when you're working, but when you're not, it's horrible. Like auditions are horrible, rejections are horrible. And I was just getting to a point where I was like a bit finding it really hard to sort of navigate teaching. I was doing a lot of teaching and trying to get time off for auditions and then take time off for work. And it was just putting a bit of a strain on me. And I thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Then I did panto in Newark, and one of my friends, Adam, who played Buttons in the pantomime, he said, Anna, you know, like, do you really want to give up? And I said, no, I don't. I love it so much. I love this industry. And he said, look, give it one more shot when you get back to London. Give it one more shot. So I came back and I signed back with Narrow Road. So over college, you sort of have to leave your agent, and I signed with another agent. And it had been going really sour. I hadn't had auditions for ages. And so I re-signed with Narrow Road. And my first audition after sort of that moment was for Aspects of Love. They'd been auditioning since November, I think. And I had my first audition in February. So it had been quite a long process. And I didn't realize that it was quite near the end of the process for me. Normally, you know, you do like 5 rounds, 6 rounds. But after 2 rounds, and within a week, I think I'd heard about the first audition, had the 2 auditions, and then my agent just rang me. And I honestly thought the final audition went terribly. I had a really sore throat, and I was a bit like, oh, I sounded awful. My agent rang me. I was on the tube, and she just said, Anna, you got it. You're going to make your West End debut. And I just cried on the tube. Like, I honestly just started screaming and crying. It was so embarrassing, but it was amazing. And and then from that point, it was such a fab experience. Yeah, really was. It was, when did we start? So we started rehearsals in end of March, I think. And that, even the rehearsal process was just so special, because we had all this time. Suddenly, like, going from panto, we have like 4 days to put on a show, weeks, and time to like really explore the character and talk about the text, and like dive into the subtext, and why would I feel like that, and why would I say that. And we spent so long really working through it like a play, so that by the time we put it on, I had such a strong sense of the character and her intentions and the story and what was going on. And yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Obviously, I can't help but saying Aspects of Love changes everything. Thank you. Thank you. But then, obviously, on the flip side, not to be a downer, obviously the show had to close kind of early. How's that for you as a performer? You kind of get that notice that...
It was, do you know what? I feel like I got the full showbiz experience in that job. Do you know what I mean? The West End debut, which was so exciting. And then the run, which was amazing. I cannot... I feel so lucky that was my first job. The people, you know, Michael Ball, Laura Pitbull for Jamie, Danny, all the girls I shared a dressing room with. I had just made friends for life, you know, and yeah, we just had the best time. So, such a tight cast. I think that was one thing that was so interesting. The cast was so tight and so had so much love for one another. So then when we found out we were closing early, it was actually so funny, because it was Katie Mitten who played young Jenny. We had 3 young Jennies, and Katie had missed her school prom that night to come and do the show. So we said, come on guys, let's throw her a prom. So we all dressed up, and we got her a crown, and we made a big fuss of her. And the producers all were there, and I didn't know that was I think a lot of other more experienced members of the cast were like, oh no, why the producers here? I was completely none the wiser. And at the end of the prom, Nika Burns sort of gathered us all together, and in the most lovely way, she was really upset, and she gave such a lovely speech, but she said, you know, it's just, we're going to close. I mean, I don't know if you saw the show. It was, the story itself was quite problematic, I think. And I think I'm sure it was back then, and I'm sure it was even so more now. And I think audiences probably didn't leave. Well, I don't know. I'm sure some people, like, the music's gorgeous and the acting was, I have to say, I think amazing. But some of the sort of storyline threads were just a bit like wild and wacky and I think hard to watch. And I think the reviews were like very mixed. Some were like terrible, and so in some ways it's really sad. But I can understand why maybe it didn't last, and it's a hard time for the West End anyway. You know, with cost of living crisis and everything. So I can understand in some ways why it had to end early, and it was really sad. I think seeing other people's sadness, you know, Michael had like, it was such a
like a big thing,
like a heart project for him, and yeah, it obviously is sad because you're like, my next 3 months of work has just gone like that. But I was quite, in some ways I was quite lucky because I'd already sort of been eyeing up I Should Be So Lucky, and I knew I wanted to be in it, and I'd emailed the director Debbie, and I said, look, I know it overlapped with aspects by quite a significant amount, and I said, please, is there no way? And she said, look, if you can get out of the last sort of 3 weeks of Aspects of Love, you can be in it. And so in my head, it was bittersweet, because I thought, oh, maybe this will mean that I can, you know. So it was really sad and hard. I think the show, I could talk about Aspects of Love till the cows come home, about if it was a good show and the problems and this and that. But I think that it's worked out really well. And I had the most fun doing the show ever. It was brilliant.
Yes. And obviously, as you say, I Should Be So Lucky is what you're in rehearsal for at the minute.
Yes.
What can you tell me about it, please?
What can I tell you? It's very fun. I have to say, it's like if Aspects of Love is on one side of the scale, you know, like, I don't want to give any spoilers, but you know, I got to act that my dad died, I got dumped, I fell in love. It was so I ended up, most nights I would be like crying by the end. I'd be so upset. This is like the biggest cheese fest ever. It's so fun and so funny. It's music by Stock, Aitken and Waterman. So, you know, that whole era of like Kylie Minogue, Rick Astley, Bananarama, Jason Donovan, all like that sort of era of music. And it's been put together by Debbie Issett, who directed, you know, like the Nativity films. So she's directing it, and I did the 2 workshops. So this has been sort of in the running for a couple of years now, and I did the very first workshop for it, and then the second, and so it's amazing to see that it's now coming into fruition, and it's going to be a real musical. So we it's a very interesting way of working. There's no script really. Debbie sort of puts you in the workshop. She'd sort of put 2 characters in a scene together and say, oh, what would happen if Olivia found this in so-and-so's room? Go. And you sort of improvise and see what happens. And obviously it's always, well, no, not always. Sometimes it's a brilliant scene and it's great, and we think, great, we'll keep that. And sometimes it falls flat and we think, right, no, cut that. And it's a really interesting way of working, really fun. And then obviously integrating the songs into that. I'm not jealous of Debbie. I think she does, she's a genius. She's like, how do you just make something up like that from scratch? So she's done such a good job. But it's gonna be really, really good fun, I think, definitely.
Yeah, obviously the trailer, like that whole trailer is just amazing already. It like sets the scene so brilliantly. The advert says it all really. It's like just crazy fun. Like, again, I think another lucky thing about this, like a pantomime, Debbie's hired people who are really funny at improvisation. So like, you're in a room full of like the most funny, crazy big characters that all the actors are like
Yeah, I can tell we're gonna have a lot of fun. So yeah, that's good.
I'm gonna end with some quick fire questions for you.
Okay, great.
What is your favorite show?
My favorite show? That's so hard. I think Billy Elliot. I think I'm not that northern, but I'm still like repping like the north of London, with being from Mansfield, and I think being from an ex-miners town as well is like it really sits, in my history, and I just think it's flipping brilliant, really well written, really like gritty and sad and funny and great. I think Billy Elliot's probably.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I work at the Curve, so obviously that we saw had it like last year. Oh, so good.
Oh my goodness! Oh, so I should have introduced you because Jess.
Yeah, I know Jess. Yeah.
Oh, amazing! Oh,
yeah,
you must have seen some brilliant things.
Yeah, it's nice, like mixed. It's like such a good venue for having
your
own and touring ones.
Oh, I'm really that is one theatre that I'm like, I would love to perform at Leicester Curve. Hopefully one day, maybe. I would love to.
Amazing. We'll get you there. I'll have words.
Yeah.
But then if you were stranded on a desert island and you could take 3 cast albums, which ones would you take?
Come From Away.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like stereotypical. I think I would have to take Les Mis. Maybe Come From Away, Hamilton, and maybe Les Mis. I just think, you want ones that you can have a really good belty sing along to. Do you know what I mean? I think it would have to, or maybe Lion King. I used to have. In my car, I used to have the Lion King CD, and I would just put it on repeat. I love the Lion King cast recording. Yeah, probably.
And this can even be as a performer or as an audience member. But do you have a favourite theatre?
Do I have yes, Regent's Park Open Air. I think is just stunning and beautiful, and I think it forces a creative team to have to be really creative with what they do with it, which is cool, I think. Do you have a favorite theatre? Is the Curve your favorite?
I don't know. It's a good question. Like, they thrown it back at me because I always like the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, because I felt the whole kind of like Stratford, the whole energy of the town and all that. It's always like a nice place to go.
Yeah.
Then obviously like Curve, as you say, it's like hometown, kind of like where I see kind of most shows, I suppose. So probably Then Theatre Royal Nottingham, that's another great venue.
Yes.
So all the Midlands ones, basically. Anywhere in the Midlands is great.
Yeah, come on. I think we need to get. I love that. They need more representation. The theatres in the Midlands, definitely. And the Curve is great, I think.
Yeah, but this is such like the obvious, like stereotypical cheesy question. Do you have a dream role?
Do I have a dream role? I would love to be Anna in Frozen.
Yeah.
Or Glinda in Wicked. I think I would. That was the first song I sang for my agent. I think I would love to be Glinda in Wicked. Yeah. Yes.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
If you were going to have an interval drink, what would you have?
Oh, I think I'd have a gin and tonic. It's a bit boring, probably, but I think I'd have a gin and tonic.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive wine drinker, so probably gin and tonic.
Yeah.
So if anyone's going to take me to the theatre, then they can know that.
There you go. G&T's all round. And the deep final question for you: what does theatre mean to you?
Oh, that's a great question. I think stories are really powerful. And I think I absolutely love that for a job, I get to tell stories through really amazing creative means. And I think that theatre in itself, whether it's in a theatre building, in your dance studio at school, outside, in your living room, theatre is the means in which we can tell stories creatively. I think that's just absolutely beautiful. And I think someone said, I can't remember, maybe it was like Steven Spielberg or someone, or maybe James Cameron was like, if you can imagine a massive historical event, our human brains can't really contemplate huge numbers and facts like in that sort of way. But if you can tell one person's story and get everyone emotionally invested in that, and then say, hey, look, this has happened to this many people, or this is, do you know, that's so powerful. And I think I love that I get to be a storyteller as a living, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And even actually, it's funny you work front of house. I think, have you read, little plug, have you read Michael Ball's book, The Empire?
I have not, but it's in the house somewhere. So
you should. I tell you what, it makes you realize, like, I love our job, you know, and for like front of house, costume, wigs. I think that was one thing amazing about working in the West End and seeing everyone doing their job so well. Costume would do costume so well, and stage door would do their job so well, and front of house would do their job so well, and everyone would do their job and together it made this like huge team of people who were putting on a show. And that's another thing that I absolutely love is it's like, it's a bit of a cheesy reference, but I'm a Christian, and in the Bible it's basically like, not everyone is a hand, not everyone is a nose, not everyone is an eye, but if you all have all those different bits, then you're like a body together. Do you know what I mean? And I think actually I couldn't do what sound do, but they couldn't do what I do, and front of house probably couldn't do what the pulleys do. Do you know what I mean? And everyone works together as a team, and I just think it's magic. It's magical.
It is magical, and that is the joy of theatre. Anna, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, people can catch you, as you say, in I Should Be So Lucky, which starts on November 2nd in Manchester, and it's touring until April, I think, currently. April, yes. So go along, because it's going to be amazing, good fun. Obviously, as you say, you're in it. Debbie's just iconic. So
yeah, she is. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much.